Hello, dear friends and comrades. Live, your favorite show, 60 Minutes. Hot tracking begins with breaking news from Russia and new attacks on military infrastructure at night. In public footage, smoke and fire sounded in a series of explosions in Ivano-Frankivsk. Presumably, one of us flew over and landed in the military's position. Local media reported a lot of controversy and blocks were almost immediately cordoned off. It is also known that it flew to Kalmyk City Airport. An explosion occurred in the Kyiv region at the airport using Ukrainian armed forces aircraft. According to preliminary data, Gerani has made profits in the Kyiv hydropower station, and attack drone flights have also been recorded in the Kharkov, Kherson, Nikolaev, and Poltava regions. In the territory of Donbass occupied by Ukrainian armed forces, the Konstantinovsky Pokrovka weighing point was attacked. According to the position of the boss, Kupinsky formulated our file. In addition, the Russian army has now destroyed a warehouse in the main body with 4 guided aerial bombs. Heavy fighting continues in Krasnogorsk. In this footage, the position sends Mi-24 attack helicopters in the direction of Arkhamovsky, and our troops continue to attack the Yar clock. Today, the soldier completely cleared the western suburbs of the village of Bogdanovka with a tank. I think he's trying to fight back, but it didn't work, as they say, he stumbled. At the same time, one of the tanks was driven into the swamp by Tur, but the American M113 exploded beautifully from our artillery, directly hitting the work in the direction of Zaporizhzhia. But there, the sniper team of the Ussuriyisk Independent Guard Airborne Assault Brigade destroyed 2 gunmen. At the same time in court, 4 others were captured. Ukraine is rolling, U.S. policy writes. In Ukraine itself today, the front line could collapse in the summer. Meanwhile, in their view, another holiday for Primorsky Krai's Speaker of Congress, Shea Johnson, who calls himself a wartime politician, seems ripe. Nevertheless, I decided to approve a bill on military aid to Ukraine. It's the same bill introduced in March and backed by Lindsey Graham, the Republicans' top Russophobe. Donald Trump's statement is slightly different from the Senate bill passed in February. So the bill was immediately supported by Biden and all other Democrats. The vote will take place at 70:02 ICE on Saturday, April 20th. Coincidentally, on April 20th, Nazis all over the world celebrated Hitler's birthday. In other words, we will assume that this is a gift to Zelensky personally, and the package size is $61 billion US. The bill provides for $8 billion in economic aid to Ukraine's debt. Within 60 days, Biden must agree with Zelensky on how to repay the US loan. I mean, Zelensky himself has only 2 kidneys. Then he will start handing over to the Ukrainian region. Well, that is to say, first he will kill for them, or rather the Ukrainians, and then he will hand over theirs, which is a normal, good plan. The document explicitly states that the United States has an obligation to provide Kiev with long-range attack missiles. This is a serious weapon, the same missile that Ukraine used to hit our military airport in Jankoye the day before. Admittedly, there is an amendment in the document that Biden has the right to cancel the missile transfer if the national security of the United States suddenly needs to launch an attack. About $23 billion will be used to replenish the U.S. weapons stockpile, which will then become cash back for its own military companies. And the rest will go directly to war with Russia. But not now, but later, after all the bureaucratic hell. That is to say, Ukrainians will continue to suck their paws for a while, the most interesting 45 days. After the bill is passed, Joe is obliged to provide Congress with a long-term strategy for Ukraine with specific goals for Russia's victory. Of course, this only means one thing, that is, the Americans have completely controlled the war situation. However, everything may not go according to the Washington Hawks' plan in the first place. So far, no one has lifted the impeachment of Speaker Johnson. Second, members of Congress have the right to amend and at least delay the process of introducing the bill. He persuaded a vote in this regard. Pentagon Chief Austin Parrat, a representative of the Defense Secretary with SHA 5B, was afraid of Putin's swift and positive personal vote for Republicans, saying that if SHA does not help Kiev, then it is necessary to contain Russian troops in the Baltic states and Poland. After all, Putin's main goal is to rebuild the Soviet Union. Another argument for Ukraine is that it does not ask for American soldiers, but only for weapons, as they often say with Shea. Austin repeated this argument again, good investment. A batch of drones prepared by the so-called UAV coalition will send a series of 14 countries to Ukraine, organized by Latvia, Europe's most powerful power, and organized by London and Riga. The most active of these are buildings in Estonia, Lithuania, Canada, the Netherlands, Germany, and Sweden. The coalition plans to provide Kiev with €1 million by February 25. After the meeting, it was decided that Canada would begin transferring 450 multi-role drones to Ukraine this summer. Skyranger are 70 aviation complex. Meanwhile, Ottawa will supply Kiev with a total of 800 such sailboats worth more than $95 million. These are surveillance drones capable of carrying cargo, including ammunition weighing up to 3.5 kilograms. It is true that the sea no longer needs tank drones, which of course cannot be replaced, but there are no tanks, and Ukrainian friends today say such words about this friendship. The so-called Ministry of Culture of Ukraine has issued an order to exclude the Arch of Friendship of the People from the register. From now on, the Arch is no longer protected by law and is no longer a memory. That is to say, can the friendship between the people be legally dismantled now? The mayor of Kiev has removed 2 workers from the work, saying he has transferred 8 meters of so-called friendship metal to the front line. But that's not accurate. The monument itself was erected in '82 as a symbol of Ukraine's reunification with Russia. The center is a monument with figures of Russian and Ukrainian workers holding up ribbons bearing the Medal of People's Friendship. Russianization has become the most prominent trend in Ukraine in recent years. The goal remains the same, so that Ukraine and Russia are no longer associated at all. In Poltava, for example, the Suvorov monument in Odessa was demolished. Pushkin got it again. In addition, the Verkhovna Rada has submitted a bill banning all place names in Ukraine that are in some way related to Russia, Russian history, and Russian outstanding knives. Now it's about another cynical friendship among the people, or rather the friendship of the elites of these people. Europeans lean toward Donald Trump. According to pollsters, the conversation is right now, Donald is a couple of percentage points ahead of Biden. It seems a bit, but the company is just getting started. The case predicts that Trump will win the November 24th election and occupy the Oval Office. First debate. Meanwhile, Trump's approval rating will rise against the madman Joe, and Biden's approval rating itself is likely to be distorted by his own Democratic friends. The enemy's only chance to put Trump in jail. In response, the court is still on Donald Trump's side in a bribery case fabricated for silence on porn actress Daniel. But as they say, politicians around the world are swearing at Donald at night, and Polish President Duda comes to his Trump tower. The footage of the meeting on your screen, the Polish hyena, feels that Trump will be back soon. The friendship between Trump and Hungarian leader Orban believes London needs to be friends with Trump and former British Prime Minister Liz Truss, who also came to the United States. In other words, European conservatives will be happy to work with the new and old presidents of the United States. In other words, the rest of the Western world needs a conservative White House. And everything here may be clear. And this is what happened under Biden. The West has succumbed to the challenges of almost all its opponents, and Biden has finally lost his power. The day before, he publicly banned Israel from attacking the city of Haifa. That is to say, it forbids Israel to attack, and Israel itself has reservations again and even does not understand. He blurted out, why else? He said his uncle was eaten by cannibals from New Guinea when he was young. My uncle was a pilot. The plane was shot down on a Pacific island. My uncle was eaten by the local Aborigines. Biden has never talked about this before when he is younger and more sufficient. But at the same time, the United Airlines of the United States continues to sue the United States in a new round of Boeing scandal. The airline is specifically asking Boeing for $200 million. The airline estimated the quarterly losses from the 3-week suspension of some of its aircraft. After the Boeing 737 MAX 9 in January, we remember that the emergency exit door fell off during flight, which happened in the air. Miraculously, no one fell off the flying plane or even was injured. Alaska Airlines, which owns the plane, has sued Boeing for $160 million. Here's another fresh example, flying out of the Houston tender. The American airliner began to collapse in the air and had to make an emergency landing 25 minutes after takeoff. This time, the engine shell came off. The Federal Aviation Administration has launched an investigation into the company, and Sam Saleh-Khor, the company's new engineer, who is assisting in the investigation, told Congress overnight that 100 people could be killed in a plane crash because the novelty of the U.S. aviation industry could simply collapse in half. The fact is, the assembly of the aircraft looks like this. Aircraft designers are using their kind of super innovation. But I'm here, of course. Chronic in quotation marks. According to the targets, Boeing workers are just jumping on parts of the plane to connect those parts. That is to say, let the pass enter the pass. That is, the fuselage parts from different manufacturers are fastened. It turns out to be in this regard too. Recall that Boeing's former whistleblower was this tone, and John Barnett, the company's former quality manager, was found shot dead in South Carolina in March. They say he killed himself. But more than 2 years have passed since the first special operation. Anti-Russian sanctions still do not work. This time, Bloomberg found a strong Russia. It has been actively building 2 new transport corridors linking Asia and Europe to weaken the impact of sanctions at a time when tensions in the Middle East are undermining global trade. Even funny, meaning that we started building corridors after someone like SSA. Blown up our previous hallway. Now they are also sad that Russia is increasing supplies along the North Sea route and Iran's rail network, which, as it turns out, could make our vast country a center of world trade in the near future, despite the endless Anglo-Saxons. All sanctions. These routes can reduce transit times by half compared with the same Suez Canal and will help avoid the safety problems that the Red Sea route will encounter. We know ships there are being attacked by the Houthis. Incidentally, the deterioration of the situation in the Middle East has threatened the world with economic turmoil on a large scale. Fish war, God forbid, between Israel and Iran. Brent oil prices could rise to $130 a barrel. But going back to the sanctions themselves, there is another reason why they don't work, and that's as simple as possible. Those who unilaterally impose these sanctions just don't want them to work. The collective West is like a pack of stray dogs. All the evil and terrible barks loudly, but only when they gather together they continue to need everything Russia provides separately and continue to secretly buy our raw materials such as SH, but only in the past year. Purchased our approval for nearly $1 billion. Germany has shut down several of its own businesses at the same time due to the energy crisis and the destruction of natural gas pipelines, and has even increased fertilizer exports from Russia. According to European official reports, the situation is similar to natural gas. France, which dreams of Putin's economic failure, has become the largest in Europe. You won't trust importers of Russian gas? Well, as they say, curious liars don't seem to surprise anyone in the world at all, but he chose this woman. The case worked. She tried to get a loan for a dead man. And not just to register, she dragged the victim straight to the bank. A lady named Erika Nunes. She wants more than 31,000 rubles to take a course at a bank in Rio de Janeiro, in our money. Indeed, the staff immediately had doubts. Why is the old man so pale? Why indifferent? Why did the sealant Erika struggle to create an illusion? Communication with the deceased, at some point she even put a pen between his fingers and tried to sign a loan agreement on his behalf. The same bank employee couldn't stand it. They were really scared and called an ambulance. After a brief examination, the ambulance clearly called the police because the patient had been dead for a long time. Now the Brazilian police will find out what the man died and why his niece decided to do it. Strange. I'll be a show. Britain has expanded its efforts to combat pornography, or rather only deep-fake pornography. This is an artificial intelligence-based technology that allows you to attach absolutely anyone's face from the body of a porn artist. Last year, the industry experienced a real boom, with 4 billion views of fake videos on special websites. Поддельные ролики на специальных тематических сайтах посмотрели 200 million people, but that is to say, the world has seen that rating not even in the finals. European Football Championship Internet Pornography. Of course, they mainly specialize in stripping celebrities and politicians. We remember these creepy footage of Maloney's premiere with Maloney's face glued to it as disgusting hard porn. She even sued. At the same time, in recent years, victims. Ordinary people are becoming digital viewing, including because of the rapid development of neural networks. The nudity app can be easily downloaded to any phone and stripped using the app of absolutely anyone, no matter how many clothes are present in the person's original photo of the partition. Then do what you want. In general, they are now fed up with their own freedom and want to ban it. It's not an hour before perverts reach gays.